In order for us to generate some random data, let's use Java Faker in here. So navigate to this link, where I'm going to leave the link in the description of this video. And basically this is super easy to use, and this library is a port of Ruby Faker gem. Generates fake data, so useful when you're developing a new project and you need some pretty data for showcase. In our case, we want to use it for testing purposes. So here you can see how they tell you to use it. So basically just have this dependency right here, and then you are good to go. So here you can say Faker, and then first name, and then last name, so on and so forth. So here, I'm just going to grab this version right here, Command C, go back, open up pom.xml, and let's see where we have our dependencies. So dependencies right here. So after the last dependency, I'm going to paste that in. And in here, what I want to do is open up Maven and then reload project. So this should resolve the dependency, and you can see that it's indexing right here, and we are good to go. Now, if I open up the student and then IT, now we can actually basically have Faker in here. So I can say private and then final and then Faker and then Faker equals to new and then Faker, just like that. Now let's generate a fake name. So here I'm going to say string dot and then format, and I want to have %s space and then % and then s comma, and then I'm going to say Faker dot and then name dot and then first name, and I also want to say Faker and then give me last name. So here on a new line, and then comma, and then here last name, and put it on a new line. Or in fact, let me just take all of this to a variable. There we go. And then name, and then indent this like that, so it looks neater. But you see that I'm doing this because I don't have room in here. And also let's generate the email. So fake email, so Faker dot and then let's see whether we have an email. So email, so it doesn't look like, so I think so. Let's have a look into the docs. So they have a bunch of things in here. So let me say name dot and then email. No, so let me just check in here. So email, oops, email, and in fact what we can do is, so let's just come back here, and we're going to say basically we want to use the name, and basically string dot and then format, and I want to use the name and then %s dot Amigos code dot edu. So basically this is the email for this institution, for example. And yeah, so now let me just end this in here like that, and we are good to go, right? So this should be actually be at, right? So the first name and last name, and then at, and then Amigos code edu, and basically you can work on this and have a better email. And most likely they do have an email somewhere around here through their API. And in fact, let's just go into the docs, and if I search for email, yeah, it doesn't seem to have emails for some reason. It should have, I'm not too sure. I'll let you figure that out. So here now what we can do is let's run the integration test again. So run, and also the gender, you can basically make a random decision here. I'm just going to leave it as female for now. And oops, so it seems that we have an issue. So it's a 200, which seems that our code is working beautifully. And I think it's because of this email right here. So it doesn't recognize this as an email. So let me just say gmail.com. So let's run the integration test again, and you can see the benefit, right? So, and remember, we are using that validation, which is given for us for free. And this failed again, and I think it's because, oh, actually, yeah, I think it's because of this. Have a look. So the body, have a look at the email here, right? So the email contains a space. So let's just go back in here. I'm going to say dot and then trim dot and then 2 lowercase. So I want to lowercase everything. There we go. Now let's try this again. Let's try amigoscode.edu. There we go. So let me run the test again, and you can see the benefit of integration tests, right? And yet again, so let's have a look why. So what did we send? So we sent again a space in here. So trim does not do it. And yeah, so trim basically it's leading spaces, so like that, right? So let's see whether we have string utils. So string and then utils, and let's have a look in here. So string utils dot, and then here we have delete, and they don't have white spaces. Or trim white space. We can try one of these methods. So trim all white space, and I think this will do the trick. There we go. Oops. There we go. And put this on a new line like that. Let's give this a go once more. Hopefully this should work. And ta-da, you can see that did the trick, right? So this is really cool. So now if I open up the database, and then if I basically open up the console in here, so jump to query console, and let's open up the, I think it was the default, yeah, this one, and we can run this query again. And there we go. This was Jasper Jacobs, and the email is jasperjacobs@amigoscode.edu, which is really nice. And basically you can run this integration test as many times you want. This should always work. And there you have it. You have successfully learned how to write an integration test for using Java and Spring Boot. Now I want to challenge you, and that is I want you to create a second integration test to test that you can delete a student. Give it a try, and if you get stuck, do let me know. Also, one thing which I forgot to mention is that you see where we basically ignored the ID right here. So the reason why I'm ignoring the ID is because the ID is randomly generated for us. So here, remember, so the ID is randomly generated for us. So if I select that, you can see that 4, 5, and then basically we don't have control of that. So that's why I want to ignore the ID, because it doesn't give us much. So that's why I've ignored the ID, but we make sure that whatever comes from the database contains the student that we are saving. So if you have any questions, drop me a message. Otherwise, let's move on.